So I am going to close the okay portion of the August 28th, 2018 Maine Township regular board meeting, and I'm going to now call to order the budget hearing for the amended general town fund for Tuesday, August 28th, 2018, scheduled at 7. It's a little bit after 7. And I'm calling the meeting to order. I think we left the Pledge of Allegiance. So, busy, right? Sure.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And would you like to take the roll?
Assessor Moreland Scribe.
Here.
Highway Commissioner Kazmierczak. Here. Clerk Giovanni is here. Supervisor Marask.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee McKenzie.
Here.
Trustee Carabota.
Here.
Trustee Sweeney.
Here. And at this time, I would call for any public comment on the amended budget line item proposals that were in the packet and put on. Hearing none, now we will move to item 3, discussion and potential action on amended general town fund budget. And I'm going to turn this over to Carrie Lynn Graftheimer, if I pronounced it right, and Chris Scott.
Sure, I'll just start and I'll turn it over to Chris because he'll do the details. But basically, we were reviewing the budget in conjunction with some of the invoices that had been presented, and in light of the fact that the township board passed the resolution to establish a capital fund. So we need to amend the budget to put in the capital fund, and then we needed to fix a couple of line items where the township previously had netted out income, and Chris will explain that. And we needed to put additional funds in some of the line items where the township has already included those line items. So with that, I'll turn it over to
Can I
Don.
ask a question? At what point are we required to amend the budget because we have a capital fund?
Well, when you adopted the capital fund, we needed to amend the budget to put it in there so you have a way to spend it. So you passed a resolution creating the fund, but it wasn't really in the budget. So.
Okay, so in order to spend money out of that capital fund, we would have to amend it. So at the point where we require it.
And that's why it was on tonight's, because otherwise we have to republish and wait another 30 days, and we can't do the capital fund process. Chris. This is our accountant, Chris Gillette.
A few changes that we made to this budget, excuse me, we broke out the revenues to be more detailed. Previously, we were netting revenues with expenditure accounts, so that's why you see the increase in the revenues, but you also see the increase in expenditures. Mainstreamers will be the biggest revenue increase, but then it's also shown as an expense, so it's a net effect of virtually nothing. Should I go through the accounts that we changed?
Yes.
And maybe so we can just explain to the public what is happening for this. So for example, let's say that the township was holding a camp and people were paying revenues, fees for the camp of $1,000, and the township was spending $800 related to the camp. Instead of showing income of $1,000 on the budget and then expenditures of $800, they were showing income of $200. So when we say netting out, we have a lot of line items that we were taking the revenue and deducting the expenditures, and instead of having 2 entries, just having 1. But because this board is committed to transparency and it's just simply a better accounting practice, we thought it should be corrected in the budget.
Correct, that's correct. In the audit, you would see the same thing as well, so I actually took those revenues and moved them to a revenue account, and then obviously the expense would have gone up from that. Let's go through few accounts that we changed. So basically the accounts that we changed were accounts that we have overexpended in the budget already. So obviously with the changes to the revenues, that's on page 1. So obviously you're gonna see a lot more detailed revenue accounts. And before I do, before I explain the expenditures that we increased, I do want to make a comment that, you know, the main goal for a budget is, especially for a township, municipalities, to have a balanced budget. What I mean by that is, essentially, what we ask the property taxpayers to pay in revenues, in theory, the township should be spending those monies. So, for instance, the town fund property tax revenues, just for property taxes alone, forget all other revenues, $4.5 million. We should be spending at least that amount of money because we're asking the taxpayers to pay that money. And obviously, therefore, you're receiving that money. So it's essential that we do try to spend what we are receiving from the property taxpayers. In the future, if we want to reduce the tax levy, and then we can spend less, that's what would make sense. But in terms of our budget, we really need to be transparent in spending what we receive. So in theory, we should be spending what we receive. So we have estimated revenues of about $5 million in the town fund alone. We should be spending that. You know, I know we're working on cutting back expenses, but all this is going to end up causing us a property tax objection because we're not spending what we're asking the citizens to pay. A couple of line items that we did change because we've been overspending those categories would be page 2. Accounting services, we've changed to $30,887. Previously, it was at $27,287. Website.
I mean, Chris, do you want to elaborate? I mean, we've had some conversations because there were numerous conversations back and forth, and we've had you come to these meetings.
Right, and we've been trying to, at first we tried to, let's try to just amend the budget one time for the year. Let's try to forecast what we're going to overspend throughout the end of the year and then increase the budget that way. Then we decided to go back and just say, you know what, just for this meeting, let's just try to amend the budget with the board for the line items that we've overspended. So that's what we have here in front of you today. I don't necessarily think that's the right way to go. I think that we should project to just amend the budget. I mean, after this meeting, if we have to do it one more time, otherwise we're going to continue to go over some of these line items and we're going to have to keep amending the budget every time. So, with that being said, I just think sometimes we should just, you know, forecast for the future and try to solve this problem all at once. I know it's obviously kind of hard to forecast what we're going to spend, but obviously we have built up reserves for those line items as well. So, I'll just go over the couple ones that we're changing. So, website and email host, we're bringing up to 14,000 from 5,000. Because obviously, like I said, we're overexpended. Legal services from $30,102 to $165,000.
Where's
Where's the
the legal?
legal?
Legal services, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Where?
Paid for.
Page 2.
I'm sorry, I don't have that page. So explain it to me.
You want to explain why the legal services were increasing, or why you don't have to amend the budget?
Those legal. What was those legal for?
She doesn't have a copy of the budget.
The budget was posted online, I believe.
It is.
Okay,
Now,
now,
we agenda on Monday.
just not waste the time of us. Tell me what was the legal, what we paid for.
You guys can explain that.
Lydia, I'm sorry, so, but can we just let him finish and then I'll
Yes,
let you do
absolutely.
That's okay. And I appreciate you coming, so, I just want to let him finish so that we can possibly answer the question.
So legal services were increasing to $165,000 from $33,000. The cleanup project single hauler program, we eliminated that line item because now we have a capital fund, so that will be paid out of the capital fund. And we obviously then added the $250,000 capital fund as well, that would be under administration. The only other line item I changed in Office of Emergency Management, we changed that to $100 from $1 for conferences and meetings. And there's a few more. Maine State Youth and Family Services, we changed summer youth camp to $10,000. Some garage sale to $800. General insurance to $1,200. Then special programs to $10,000.
But I want to point out the garage sale and the special programs are the things that are netted out.
I was going to say that.
Money.
Right, so the reason why those amounts have increased is because we were netting that amount before, so now we have the revenue broken down as revenue and then expense broken down as expense. So we had to show the increase in the expense. So those should be all the line items that we overexpended, and then if the board would pass this budget, we could actually then, in theory, pay those bills. Yeah.
So, for instance, in Maine State Youth and Family Services, the actual net difference in the total category is an increase of $11,542, correct?
Right.
Okay, so that's the net increase, even, net everything against each other, revenues and everything.
Right.
So, where did the increase in expenses?
Are you talking just in youth camp alone, or?
Yes, I mean, you can go back, but I'm trying to catch up with you.
Right.
Trying to write it down as fast as possible. But in my analysis, I see that summer youth camp, there's a change of $6,297. Garage sales, and that's an increase.
Right.
So and who's coming up with these numbers?
Well, those are actually based on your actuals that you should be seeing in your monthly expenditure reports. So anything that was overexpended from your budget, those are the line items that we increased.
But am I correct, you're still under the revenue that you also.
Right. So for garage sale, garage sale is now broken out as its own line item in estimated revenues on the budget side before it was being netted.
So it's $800.
So that, the $800 would cover the expense portion before that 202 had included the revenue portion. So that's why we need to increase this, because there was revenues built into that 202, which lowered the expenditure. Does that make
So
sense?
where is the revenue for that?
The revenues on the budget, it's on page 1,
So on the summary?
that first page of the budget. So the revenue was 5,700, which was based off last year's actual.
So it used to be that the net was 202?
Yeah.
Okay, but now the net is going to be, there is an increase, correct?
Correct, so we're expecting to make more money on the garage sale, but obviously there was expenses built in that weren't before, so now we're saying, okay, we're gonna receive $5,700 in income from the garage sale, but we're gonna only spend $800. So before, obviously, it's better this year, because we're showing that we're gonna bring in 57, less 800, gets you 51, before it was 202. So we're actually showing an expense of 202, so we were losing money per se.
Okay, just so I understand, in summary, the income other income is where all this is being booked to, right? It used to be, other income was 81,229, and that included all of these items that were netted, correct? So now we broke them out, so we have main streamers, yardstick, stickers, and rebates, postage, garage sale, transportation, passport fees, vehicle sticker fees, and then now other.
Correct.
Okay, so now, that whole, and then senior programs also has an increase in revenue.
Right.
So the total increase in revenue from all of those streams is $368,422.
Correct, and correct, and the major portion would be the mainstreamers. Before, mainstreamers wasn't even on the books until the auditor came. So that increase is substantially from mainstreamers. So you'll see the mainstreamers for $312,000, and then you'll see the expense for mainstreamers.
Under senior and auditor.
Correct, and then, correct.
Okay, so it means that. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. That is on page 7. So you'll see the mainstreamers expenses $327,000, which we did not have before.
I got it.
We're trying to make it, obviously, way more detailed than it was before. You can actually see the revenues, not just building up or anything.
So, in administration, which is the biggest, I think, amount of change,
Right.
there's a net increase in expenses of almost $400,000.
Right, correct, and the $250,000 of that is gonna be your capital fund. So under page 3, you'll see that the capital fund for $250,000 is now included in admin under capital outlay.
Okay, so if you don't include the capital fund, then the increases to total administration are,
Is it ratio or the?
so it's around 7,000, correct? 149,539.
Yes, that's correct, and that would be mainly due to the increase in the legal fees.
Then what?
That would be mainly from the legal fees, and then the increase in attorney fees, and then the few other items I just talked about.
So the increases are the legal fees, the accounting fees, $100 for OEM, and,
Website.
and the website.
Correct.
Because we are considering 10 years of retention, we have to put additional money into that to account for what we discussed at the last meeting, potentially having to contract out part-time, someone to do that, or the PDFs. You know, I said we had a contract for a certain amount of PDFs, so we took an estimate of what we, and John Hamburg's time to do it.
Right.
So his time is 500, so that's the actual ones that are getting increased. And we projected out the attorney's fees based on what they have been, they go down, and the accountant fees based on what they have.
Right, so the attorney fees and the legal and the accounting fees are projected through the rest of the year. We figured it'd just be easier to do it that way because this is kind of a consistent thing. With other line items, we've done our best to say, here, this is what it should be through the rest of the fiscal year, but not necessarily that we know. So we kind of increase it just to try and get us through the rest of the year with those few line items.
So what changed to bring it up another $3,000 since May? You didn't forecast.
I'm sorry, trustee, can you speak in the mic?
Yes, what I'm asking is that the accountant fees went up, it looks like about $3,500 since we had our final budget approved
Which
on June 1st.
category?
Accounting services.
So you're asking, like, why so much? Why is it going up?
Yeah, I mean, we just did our budget a few months ago and we submitted it for June 1st. And it was presented based on the amount being, I believe,
What's
$27,000.
the actual right now? Do we have that number of the actual accounting fees
Yeah.
as of right now?
Well, there were some additional conversations that certain individual trustees had with Chris that were not projected in the budget. in the budget, we had projected the cost of the audit and the cost of coming to present the audit, because that's typically what, yeah.
So what is already paid
I have the
for?
numbers for you. So the accounting services through July that were expended were almost 22,000, 21,686 and 72
Right, I mean,
cents.
so we're being,
So the amount that's available to spend
right,
is 5,600.
Right.
So we're adding 3,600 to
correct,
that.
correct. I mean, it doesn't mean that's gonna be paid, it's just, we're just guesstimating, and if we don't spend it, then we don't spend it.
So when do you start your audit process?
Well, I think that amount that we're increasing, that's just increasing the time that I'm putting into any additional work that hasn't been covered through the introductory, doing things like this.
So you don't start the audit on that one?
The audit, we started the audit in, April-ish, that's when I started. So that included the audit bill as well, obviously. And then the few consulting, I can do that.
So you're projecting about $8,000 more through the year.
I mean, it's kind of no different than with the legal fees, we're just kind of projecting it out there. I mean, it doesn't, we can,
Well, he was projecting because we probably have to amend it if we go over. And that was what was discussed, because the accounting fees, and then we may not even use that income.
So my question is, do you project using about $8,600 more in your fees through the rest
I
of
mean,
the
I don't necessarily think out,
Because April's going to be in our next fiscal year.
right,
Okay, so if you don't start your audit until April, the majority of your fees aren't going to come until the April bill, which is going to be paid.
correct. I mean, it was more of just a guess. I mean, obviously, I didn't come up with this number, this was a collaborated effort. On top of it too, so say we don't spend in that category, that gives us a little cushion for other categories as well.
Okay. Do you know how the legal services amount was calculated, or?
And we did,
What services?
I think Carrie Lynn could explain that more than me, but we basically said what we've been spending per month, and then we calculated that out throughout the rest of the year.
But we took out, we didn't think that the trajectory was going to continue along the current pace, because there were a lot of things expended for the harassment investigation that won't be repeating themselves.
Certainly, I do not want to pay for it. Those.
Lydia, I'm sorry. We'll make a public comment, we'll have some comment in a minute. I just need to finish, because we have to move into the next budget hearing. Trustee Carabota?
I want to answer your question very quickly. As far as the legal fees, from May 1st through July 31, we're billed for Mansfield Plain corporate work, $36,783.22. The harassment investigation, $22,320. Labor and employment, $6,600. An issue involving another individual, $1,800. Personal policy manual to help us put our manual together, about $2,500. Also, there's attorney's fees through Bond Dixon, appealing the IMRF ruling regarding pension. That was 8983.87. Back on May 22, Chris, back on May 22, that was our final meeting that we were supposed to have before passing the budget, which was effective June 1st. We went through a special meeting before that, we went through meetings before that as well. Throughout that time period, I made it real clear that I wanted a budget that cut everything by 10% in real numbers, not in projections, not in made-up numbers. I then compromised, this is for my own vote, I then compromised my own vote to 5%. Then I compromised to saying no more than a budget that is no higher than what we spent last year in real numbers. Keeping in mind that we had several cuts throughout the year, we consolidated jobs, our staff has been fantastic. They haven't missed a beat with the cuts that we've done. So we passed the budget that was level to last year. And before walking in on May 22, I had a long conversation with our supervisor. Everyone knew my position that within an hour or two of me coming here on May 22, that my vote cannot approve a budget that's going to be higher than last year because that's ridiculous. Stepping forward, before that, you mentioned about the levy. I wanted a levy that cut taxes by 15% for current. I compromised to 10. I then, for my vote, compromised to 5% cut. Why we levy first before having an actual budget to see what we need. Levying meaning that's the money we take from the taxpayers for the year. We take first, we budget second. That makes absolutely no sense to me, but I was told repeatedly that the levy has nothing to do with the budget and the budget has nothing to do with the levy, which I totally disagree. We ended up with a levy that cut by 5%. We have approximately $12 million to savings. In my opinion, are we overtaxing the taxpayers of Maine Township? Yes, we are. Now I'm here today after May 22, we passed the budget June 1st. Last I looked, this is August 28th. And under here I'm hearing, hey look, we levied about $5 million and we're not spending the whole $5 million. It makes no sense for us to budget what we take. Okay, so now we're going to increase the budget to match what we took. To me, that's no excuse. If there's going to be a property tax objection, Chris, which you mentioned, that's something that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
We need to spend what we receive. To me, everyone knows who's been coming to the meetings, that doesn't fly with my vote. As to the taxpayers pay us a certain amount of money, so they expect us to spend that amount of money. That second half of the sentence is not correct. Okay. If we're now going to go ahead and raise that budget that was level from last year, all the work that was done, and just myself, and I'm not saying about everyone else who's worked, I'm sure, a lot harder than I did. I have hours and hours and hours and hours of time trying to figure it out. Now we're going to go ahead and change the budget at a blink, and we may even have to amend it again to increase it. Okay? This is the stuff that messes up our state and our county. That's the answer.
I'm sorry,
Chris.
we have to move on.
Chris, I know, and I have the floor. I'm asking Chris a question. Chris, can we still pay the attorney's fees without amending the budget? And then make adjustments at the end of the year, as has been the history of this township. We've done that all the time.
Not if you keep harassing people.
How much is
Let's see.
That's the question.
Yes, okay, I'm gonna respond here. So,
I'm not asking Laura, I'm asking respectfully.
You
I'm asking
answer as a treasurer. How
I-
time is a 6 times 7? Just as a treasurer, answer.
Lydia, I have to keep order. Okay, everybody, pensions are high, we have to keep order. Everybody's gonna get a chance at public comment. But, so here's my point. Here's my point. That the harassment investigation was unanticipated, and it was done at your request. The IMRF investigation was unanticipated. It was also done, and we approved it to have the board pay for it. So those things, the simple answer is no, we cannot pay the attorneys without increasing that line item.
Now, my question, though, was directed to Chris. Chris,
It was the same question.
Can we pay these bills and then make adjustments at the end of the year? Here's the problem. If we try to take these situations that occur, and we then use that to justify, well, we had an increase in attorney's fees, that have to be paid, so we better increase the budget now more than that when it comes to attorney's fees, anticipating that maybe more will happen. Versus how it's been done historically in this township, where if we have an item that's outside the line item, it's more expensive, and it's paid and it's approved by the board, we can make those adjustments at the end of the year. Isn't that correct?
You can only do 10%.
I'm not gonna answer legal questions.
I'm not asking a legal question, I'm asking an accounting question.
No, can I answer your question?
I'd like to answer that.
So I think what has happened in the past is you've done line item transfers at the end of the year to adjust things, which you have the ability to do as long as you're not moving more than 10%. But because the overage is projected at over 10%, you can't pay bill that you don't have money in the budget for.
Correct.
So since there is,
Trustee Sweeney.
As you referenced in your memo to us internally, I don't think it went out to the public, but you had speculated that there would need
That
to
was
be.
not my memo, that was Carrie Lynn's.
I'm referring to Carrie Lynn, sorry, I was motioning, and I'm intending to motion Carrie Lynn, that there will need to be an adjustment in the next few months. I would like to consider a motion to amend to say that we would defer until which time we know what these future expenditures are that are anticipated to be increased, since you're saying in effect that we're going to have to make another adjustment.
Well, okay, except for right now, these are line items that are already out of money. So if we did it that way, we wouldn't be able to pay the bills until we do that.
Maybe I can.
Trustee McKenzie. It is. And then we're going to wrap up this discussion because we have a
So
road
just
district.
to simplify from what I understand, Chris, and correct me if I'm wrong, but for most of the adjustments that I detailed out with you, they are actual line items that we have gone over and we're trying to correct for that, and adjust for that right now.
Correct.
Instead of waiting till the end and doing the line item adjustment.
Correct.
With the exception of the webmaster and legal and accounting, that's correct? So it's just the three other items, the web services, accounting, and legal, that there's any kind of projection included in the number.
Correct.
So can we break out the amount, the difference between the projected and the actual?
We could, yeah. Obviously not right now.
So then just keep amending every month doing this?
I'm just offering that as an explanation to Susan.
So what we had projected, I think, was something to cover the next 3 months, because if you go through this again, you have to post at least 30 days.
Publish 30 days, and then we're going to have this hearing within 30 days. And that was what we were trying to avoid. For 57,000.
I was just trying to simplify.
So and I appreciate it, but because actually everything else is not an increase. The only increases are the legal services, webmaster,
Well, I don't think we're over in accounting right now.
We're not.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
and the accounting, and that's it. So it is sort of a misnomer to say, Trustee Carboto, that we're going over, because we're not. So the point being that rather than spend the money to have a meeting and a budget and publish every month, we literally are in the hole on the attorney's fees. Not yet on the accountant, we're even. We have zero.
But I think what we were thinking with him is he's going to have costs for doing this.
Exactly, for coming to the
Correct,
meeting.
amending and amending and
You
amending.
spend time on the phone with different trustees. As you'll see on the agenda, we're trying to develop a policy for more efficient use of our attorney and our accountant. This isn't that, it's not phrased as the state or the country. It is literally 3 line items. And the capital fund that you all approved and agreed we needed has to be in there in order to spend it.
We're not gonna pay for any kind of fees.
I'm sorry. Anybody else have any comments? Trustee Carabao.
I would have,
Not repetitive purposes.
with my clarification. is I would have no objection to the transfer of funds into the capital fund, limited to the amount that we talked about at the last meeting. I would have no problem with paying the attorney's fees for these various items. The problem I'm having is that for some reason, putting aside the issue of, oh my gosh, attorney's fees, which are a $12 million budget, that the 22,000 plus 36,000 is not a huge amount. I mean, but we have reserves. The issue is, I've just seen this budget after, it's gonna grow. Taking out those two exceptions is just gonna grow more and more. And I really don't think that's what's in the best interest of Maine
How
Township.
much
That's
did we pay? Bottom line is, how much did we pay? And we're gonna go through, or just end of the story. Somebody's gotta.
I'm gonna try to lower the fan.
Legal law.
Lydia, I have to hold you to the rules of conduct. So we absolutely can have public comment. It's just we can't interrupt. And I can't have everybody interrupt, or anybody interrupt. So I do appreciate everybody here. Dave, problem is we can't pay the attorney's fees now. We can't pay it. It's 10% over the line. We cannot pay it. And we won't be able to pay the webmaster fees if we follow the policy that we're voting on later, and similar to the accountant.
Can you explain that? I'm sorry, if we follow the policy that we're voting on later.
You have a retention policy that for 10 years. Data, we discussed it at the last board meeting.
Right?
We proposed to,
So that's going to bring the fees from 5,000 to 14,000 because of that in 2 months? I don't understand.
well, remember, somebody has to actually go up in the attics, get all the
But
information.
we talked about doing that over a period of time, and if it takes years or it takes time to do it, to break it out.
If you
We're
wanna
not
do it
asking
this
for
year-
things overnight. We're asking for what other townships have online, which is
But we're
data,
not
so
out
that
there
our
yet.
residents can see and have transparency so they know.
I'm explaining why
I may
it's
interrupt.
in there. That's why it's in there, so that we could pass it if we wanted. Can we move on to the budget?
Well, what I would say is, we passed a budget that was June 1st. It is now August 28th. So what has changed since then is nothing from my perspective, because we talked about putting policies online starting in January of this past year. And so the things that we want to put on our website for all of you who are at home, we are adding to our website to make it more transparent. So now you can find the audit. Now you can find financial information. Now you can compare budget to budget. So these things are things that were accounted for in a $5,000 budget. But now suddenly, today, or a few days ago, it's a $14,000 line item. So as a trustee,
You can
that
amend
makes
any
it-
or all.
I don't understand how that could have changed things.
Because we didn't want to have to come back and do this every month. We want to make the taxpayers have a meeting, a budget hearing every month. Because then there's also additional audit fees, there's additional publication fees. We're actually trying to save money. And what you missed Chris saying is these are projections that have come up since we didn't have these legal fees.
Legal fees are separate.
Well, no, there's three line items. So there's only 3 line items that are changing as in adding. Legal fees, accounting fees, web services. Oh, I'm sorry, and $100 for data. Trustee Jones, let's.
I just have one simple comment. In January, I had the township staff do a study on legal fees for the previous 5 years. In the previous 5 years before this year, Legal fees average $15,000 per year. In January, they had already increased 128%. Now we're in August, and Trustee Carboda is saying $22,000 for 1 month is no big deal. And then he has the nerve to complain about taxpayers.
It is a big
So
deal.
that is a big deal. $22,000 in 1 month compared to averages of $15,000 per year for the previous five years.
That's
You
a
can look at the
correction. That's not
website in
words.
January and look at the graph and you'll see it go like this. And it's continuing to go like this. And that's all I have to say. $22,000 in a month in legal fees is a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
May I-
All right,
may I
so
ask you a
we're
question?
going
May I ask you a question? I'll respond.
Hang on, I'm gonna establish some ground rules. People cannot call out. All right,
Because I don't want you to gavel if I have my hand up.
I'm just gaveling so that everybody, we really have to move on. It's 10 to 8. Trustee Carebola, one final thing.
First of all, the attorney's fees are separate and apart, in my opinion, number one. Number two is $22,000, is an awful lot of money. Number three, that study that was done, that was put out by Trustee Jones in January, was rebutted by a second report that showed that there were a number of matters that she did not include in that study that made that study totally incorrect, something not to rely upon. This is your money. I'm trying to watch your money. I don't want to see us coming up with a budget that means absolutely nothing. Thank you.
Okay, so, the bottom line is that we're going to vote, and just want everybody to be very, very clear that the vote is not in 4 of the categories. It is not raising the budget. And in the other 3 categories, it is. And those categories have occurred since the time of May 22nd. And those categories also, I want to point one final thing out, with these trustees wanting to do the same MRF, which, we voted was fine. We had to put more money in there as well for Mary Dixon, to account for Mary Dixon and what her average was per month, and that's not counting a hearing or oral argument or any of that, because we don't know. Okay, so that's the last word on that, and so,
I'd like to make a motion to amend the vote.
I haven't even made a motion.
She's making a motion.
Oh, you're making the motion?
Yes. I'm making a motion to amend.
To amend what?
The way that it's stated, the budget, so that we pay the attorney fees and we pay the capital fund. And that's what we increase over the budget that was just approved for June 1.
Second.
And the other things would be considered later when we determine what's really needed.
Second.
All right, so there's a motion and a second, and since we just discussed this at great length, assuming there's no more discussion on this, Trustee McKenzie.
I just want to say that what Trustee Sweeney is asking us to do is really not amending the budget, which is what we're asked to discuss and do. And it won't work that way. That's just what I wanted to say.
In what regard? So if we raise the budget by $250,000 for the capital fund, and then by the
Just explain and explain.
So we're gonna vote on your motion, and then I will have a motion.
Can I just clarify so everyone's sure what she's talking about? Okay. And then let me clarify with you, because some of the some of the changes we were proposing were just the netting, you know, the more transparency things. Did you want those included too, or not?
The way that we account in the budget, the netting?
To show, yeah, instead of showing, for example, instead of showing 1,000 revenue coming in and 800 going out, the budget previously just showed 200. We wanted to show the 1,000 plus the 800 in several of the revenue line items and expenditure line items. Did you want to include those or not?
I don't have a problem with the way that the mechanics of it showing from a accounting standpoint that it's netting.
Okay, so what you're saying
Overall
then,
dollar amount as far as an expenditure and what we're saying for page 10 of the budget
okay,
would reflect what we approved June 1 plus 250,000 for the capital fund, and then the legal fees that.
okay, so the only thing that really you're saying shouldn't be changed based on the proposal is the auditor line item and the website line item, right?
Those are the two.
Yeah.
If that's, I don't know, because the 4,590,000 reflected also there were a couple of other, no.
Okay, we can take the vote, but I just want to make it absolutely clear that everybody understands what they're voting on. Because the auditor is going to have to put this into a budget, and we're going to, instead of us having 49 phone calls tomorrow. Right. So I just want to make sure
I have a
that
counter motion.
everybody understands what the proposal is. Did we state it properly?
Yes, what I don't have is the dollar amount for the legal fees to add to the budget from what was approved in June.
Okay, so you are not saying go to the 165 in legal fees, which is proposed. You're saying just do actual attorney's fees so that next month we'll be out again? Or do you want to suggest something less than the 165 to carry us over for a couple months?
Can I call this vote?
Well,
I don't know what it is.
yeah, that's the problem.
I don't think trustee Steen knows.
That's why we're asking her.
I know it's.
The motion that I seconded, the motion that I seconded was a motion that allowed for actions that would allow for payment of the attorney's fees, for payment of the funds into the capital fund account, and for the mechanics clarifications in the budget that opposed to the budget, which are strictly mechanical, not financial. So based on that, I seconded that motion.
But then what is the dollar amount for the attorney's fees? Because we can't, we have to, if we're going to actually prepare a physical document, we don't need to know what number to put in there.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a vote, I'm gonna call the question. Dave just said the question, I'm calling this one.
But there's a question here about it. What do you think is a number that would
She
be
picked the number, 167,
165?
or 165, that was the number.
Is that just a number, or is there a number that we can get that's more realistic? I mean, not realistic, but more actual?
Okay, so what was, Chris, do you remember what the actual number is right now, like in the budget that is right now? It's 33,000.
The original budget?
So we're over the 33,000 already.
Like 5,000.
Okay, so I mean, do you want to go to 80,000?
Okay, I amend my motion.
And I would second the amendment that the amount be 80,000.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I would say that, and Susan said the 80,000 would be the figure, and I would second that.
And that will pay for Mary Dixon as well?
I'm just saying that that's the number for now. I think it's good. So that would be the motion.
Wait a minute, what's the motion for the auditor?
Nothing for the auditor right now because the auditor's not over, if I'm understanding
Right.
correctly.
We're already 60,000 in the hole for legal services, so it's not even a high enough increase.
How much in the hole?
60?
Oh, she just said 5,000.
7,000.
$60,000 right now?
Yes, that's what I said, 57,000.
It has to be a higher increase, otherwise it's not gonna cover what we already own.
So I don't know where you guys are coming up with these numbers.
I need a number.
We have a number. The number is 165.
But not, 165 was a projection, okay? So I was trying to figure out, we were actually asked, there's 33,000 in the budget, and if we are, I thought we were beyond by 5,000, if we're beyond that by 60,000?
60,000, yeah.
Then we at least need to add the 60 to it, plus
That's how we fix
whatever we expected will be over like the next 2 or 3 months.
Right. That's how we do this.
This is one of the reasons why I wanted to defer this another.
Okay, so are you making a motion then to this?
Vote on the motion.
Yes, well,
We just want to clarify the number for the motion. So the motion was that the action that would allow for the payment of the capital fund, the action that would allow for the payment of the attorney's fees, and for the mechanics in the budget as proposed, and for an amount X for the attorney's fees. And here we're being told we're at 55,000 out of 60,000. What would you say would be a number? 165,000 is really high. I'm wondering what the
They made the motion.
number would be.
It's already made.
That's what I'm trying.
Asking if any of this is fair.
Okay, guys. All right.
This is stupid.
Because it's still not gonna work, even if they change the number to 140 or 1/3, because the accountant is at 0, he won't get paid. And it's just like that motion won't work.
But they can still make it.
Of course they can, that's why I'm calling the question, so that we can look up.
But how question if we don't know what that number is?
I think that they need to pick a number.
Cut up some numbers and put them in a hat for you and pick one
And guys, keep in mind, we have a whole group of kids to give. You're running the meeting? I'm trying.
I withdraw my motion.
So, there is a motion.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion.
Second.
How are we seconding it? Oh, okay. Alright. You don't have to do that. You don't have to, no, you don't have to.
She withdrew the motion.
She withdrew it.
He withdrew the second.
That's it. Alright, I'm making a motion to take action as described in the packet on the amended general town fund budget as is. And the numbers have been laid out, and do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
I apologize, could you repeat? I apologize.
I have a motion to take
No, we gotta
the
really stop the comments.
action. Okay, so, guys, honestly, I have to get through this. We have a motion to take action on what is listed as the amended general town fund budget, which is amending 7 line items, 3 of which are added to, based on attorney's fees, accountant, and the website in order to have increased transparency. That's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moravsky.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
No.
Trustee Sweet.
No.
All right, this is passed. Is it proper for me to defer the amended road budget so we can take these kids?
Is everybody okay with that?
Is everybody okay with this? We had to cancel, just to let you all know, we had to cancel National Night Out because of the weather.
and the flooding of Deep Park. So, all the kids did like.
This will take 5 minutes.
Right, this will take 5 minutes. Dean is literally giving awards.
So you need a motion to convene, or motion to, let's adjourn the budget hearing.
I'm gonna motion to adjourn well, we haven't called the road district. Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to adjourn the first budget hearing.
Can I ask a question? Do we have any legal concerns with doing that, to adjourn the?
No, we're adjourning the first one, town fund.
We're done with it.
Okay, no, I know that.
So having a motion and a second on that, can you call the roll for Giuliano?
Supervisor Moran?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Carabota? Yes. Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
All right, now I'm gonna make a motion, if we can, take on order convene the regular board meeting for one item and one item only, the National Night Out Poster Contest winner presentation, item 8. And we will go right back to the road district budget.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Moran.
I have to get a second to that motion. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, can we call the roll?
Supervisor Moran?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Carabota?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
All right, Clerk Giuliano, you are up.
Just ask kids if you could, if you're still here, please grab your posters. It's right there. Up, step forward.
Everybody stay.
One roll on the floor.
Favorite event?
Great shirt. Yeah, we're doing How you believe?
Is Gabriel Hipness here?
No, she's not.
Oh, sure.
Do you want, anybody else? Just basically one of that, and then the elected officials can step in as well. Okay. Just do one with the kids, then one with the
These are our future. This artwork. And it will be hanging in the town hall as well as in my law office. If I can get permission.
What's that? Yeah, I got it.
Alright, so now.
Yeah, you guys are gonna hold on your posters for now, because we're gonna display in the town hall. For a little bit, and then you can, once you're done, you're gonna have it back. All right, everybody, elected officials, come on in. Oh. That was still on right, look in here. Big smile, good, surprise.
Winners, come on.
Thank you.
One more thing to give out.
There you go. There you go.
First of all, we want everybody to know they're getting savings bonds so that they can save for their college education.
Thank you very much, kids, for sticking around. I just have one more quick thing. It was a little bit of a surprise. We have two of the volunteers that have been helping with National Night Out since the inception here at the township, 25 years. So I just wanted to recognize them real quick. Sorry we weren't able to do it on the actual night, but the weather was not cooperating with us. But both David Cowan and Louise Friedenson have been part of National Night Out here in the township since its inception. So we got a little plaque recognizing you guys, so if you want to come up here. Volunteers, come on up and get your picture. Come on, Steve, where are you at?
I started with these.
I know. There you go. Right there. Right in the middle.
My whole crew's here. I'm sorry I missed the poster contest. Good, I picked though, and I didn't know you guys like.
No, we need some love. Oh, yeah, we're not. No, you're guessing.
Wow.
Thank you guys, thanks for everything you did. Thank you. That was the idea. Yes, it was.
All right. Pete, good job. I'd like to thank DJ Lamas and everyone on the National Night Committee, National Night Out Committee, for the really hard work that they've done. Better luck next year, as the Cubs will say.
Can't
All right.